This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First up is the motion to approve the minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Hearing a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, I forget the date. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, I have to do a roll call because we have people on. Tom Brown,
Aye.
Crystal. That was an aye.
Yep. Aye.
That's aye. Scott.
Yeah.
Aye. Leslie, aye.
Aye.
No public here. Report from the program subcommittee.
Okay.
This thing?
Okay, I'll start and then Kathy can, and Crystal, please chime in. Just for them bossy like that.
Great deal of it.
Okay, so here's what we did. We took your report and we had a conversation to not radically change what you did, but I'll go into that in just a second. I felt that little shudder. I got the little shudder.
It looks radical to me. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's like a school paper in all red.
I know. So what we did was, the point of this committee, looking at this, is to have staff, there's 2 staff on the committee, and board members / people with various expertises. So higher education, Kathy, and working on all the stuff she had to work on. Crystal, having been involved with the Northampton Senior Center build and working at various living facilities, bringing their subject matter expertise together to take one more look at this and see what might have been left out and not to radically change anything. And I promise you, there is nothing on this that is a radical departure. So what we did was we came up with a few things to go over with you for your approval or disapproval. Then after the meeting, Cindy, went back to the 2022 study of the senior center building, the feasibility study that we did, and looked at the language that was in there around what did the board, COA board, through that already agree was needed for a new senior center. Because I didn't know the extent to which you folks in your visits had a chance to review that, which we had already been looking at. So there were a few things missing from this that are kind of no-brainers that I put in here to put your brains to. So let's just start going over it and I'll show you where those are.
I'm sorry, can you just back up a second?
Yeah.
The other document that the program and subcommittee reviewed was the work done by the group, the Council on Aging the previous year, or by the architectural study?
The architectural study done of the current senior center building pointed out, here's our recommendations for the minimum you need to operate a senior
Okay.
center.
Yep, got it.
And you touched on so much of it, but there were just a few things that you left out. So let me just,
That's the point of having it. I'm a little
Right.
confused. You have red and yellow.
yes,
You say program subcommittee comments in
Yellow.
yellow.
so
What's the red?
the red is track changes. So what I did was I put yours into the word processor, and anything that I touched that was already in there, where all we did was move it or edit it or change something, that would be in red.
Okay.
And then those are all suggested changes. None of them are permanent. So when we go back into that original document that you did, if we are not approving something, all we have to do is click it off and it'll come back to the way it was that you had it. The yellow is anything that we want to call your attention to that is either edited, which would be the red and yellow together. And if it's just yellow with no red, that means it's totally new. Okay, so, but let's just go through and it'll make more sense. Okay, so first of all, overarching, do we need to have general recommendations plus individual rooms?
Absolutely.
Kathy asked. Okay,
Absolutely. We're trying to give the building committee our thoughts. And I don't know how deep in detail we have to be.
Yeah.
But why not?
why not? Okay,
Because at least it gives them, oh, I didn't think of that kind of thought process as they're going through it.
That's what I thought.
So
we
I don't,
needed to
no
do.
problem with having all of the detail you added.
Great.
I think saying the entire building needs to be 8, I'm going on, I'm sorry.
that's okay. We're just gonna go through these one by one.
Well, under the main entrance thing, I don't think we need to say 32 inches, but ADA compliant is, any architect's gonna do that.
Wait, we're gonna go through these one by one.
Okay, go on.
So I think the only reason Kathy had that question is because when I was making the edits and track changes, it accidentally deleted the number 2 and it made it look like it was all general recommendations. So I think we're good. Okay, it was a
Oh, well, where is
formatting
number
thing.
2?
It's still there. It's still there under individual rooms. Okay. And then the question was, are we calling them rooms or spaces? Sometimes, I think in this document, sometimes it's clear that you need a room and sometimes it could be a space, like it could be an alcove or a hallway or an area, or maybe in the final build, 2 staff have to share a quote space.
Okay.
So Tom's got a question, Dan.
Go ahead, Tom.
I think if they are rooms that are always going to be used for that, only that single purpose, they could be labeled as rooms. If they are spaces that are going to be multiple purpose, then they could just be referred to as spaces.
I feel, Cindy, you know, and your staff knows the answer to that question, as Tom said. So you can edit it as you wish, calling it a room or calling it a space,
Okay,
depending on how your programming anticipates its needs.
okay. So then next, the question about the doors was, you guys had put in larger than normal doors. And my question was, are you talking about physically a person entering and exiting, or are you talking about having an entrance where it's like big enough for deliveries, multiple people to come and go if there's a big crowd? Like, what did you mean larger than normal? Only because like at Hadley, you know, it's not like a door, it's a huge sliding
Okay,
entrance to a
okay.
vestibule. So what were you thinking of when you
I think
guys-
I was referring to that door.
Okay,
So whatever works for the architects, but if the entire building has 32-inch doors, it means a wheelchair can get through, right?
yeah,
Right.
So any office, any room, any space should have at least that. And I would think the architects are gonna do that
mhm,
automatically, but.
right. But the main entrance, you guys were thinking should be like
Sliding door like. yeah.
like a
Yeah.
big
Like Hadley,
entrance.
that's-
Okay, so next, under
Mhm.
multi-purpose room, the question was, we've talked about it, but would never really wrote it down. Do we want to advise a movable wall? I know Crystal had mentioned that those can be made auditory, you know, auditory division. Or do we not need to get into that right now?
I think if you want to mention it, I don't mind. Again, putting it into the mind of the building committee is. Let's hope
Kathy, you
that, let's
brought it
hope
up.
that some of us are on it.
Right. And that can't wait till later, but I think that's a pretty important piece to that room. It can be.
Okay, so moving down, all I did was, correct the spelling of lead for the, you know, the lead building and say the most recent version, because there's so many versions out there, like, obviously we want them to be. And then we just all I did was edit to make the text a little tighter and clearer around that 2 floors are space efficient. Obviously, external space. Storage, again, just went back to that EDM report on building feasibility and realized that you didn't have furniture listed for storage. And in practice, we have to move furniture, not just supplies and equipment.
That's fine with me.
Yep, moving on. So we know that like Bluetooth and technology was mentioned in a couple places, but Crystal encouraged us to make sure that wherever we're talking about acoustic, We're also talking about ADA because they go hand in hand for
That's fine.
auditory. The IT stuff didn't change that at all, except just to move it up. I was fighting, okay, so this is new and I want to call your attention to this, and we didn't have a chance to talk about this with the committee as it's currently constituted, but the program committee did talk about this way back, I think, Crystal, which was that the architects, when they did the feasibility study, pointed out that decor should be used, you know, in an age-friendly way, dementia-friendly way, and all of that, because that's a thing in senior centers. You know, you want to make it friendly to everybody, but you need to have some decor, and decor can become a huge issue. So
You mean like pictures on
pictures on the walls, whether
Or two,
patterning of the floor could affect people with
Wallpaper.
dementia, like, so we didn't have it in there anywhere, so I just wanted to bring it personally. I
Sounds
wanted
fine
to
to
bring it
me.
to the group today.
in fact, that's a great catch.
Okay, so next, when you were talking about the larger than normal doors of the main entrance, you did not mention a weather lock vestibule, which of course, I mean, an architect's gonna put that in there anyway, but like if you look at
That's fine.
some buildings, they don't have it. And then the other thing missing was, if our building's only gonna have one main entrance and it's also the drop-off entrance, it's very functional to have a place where people can sit and wait for transportation that isn't smack in the middle of activities, but it also might not be possible, you know? So what do you folks think? I stuck it in there because it was in the original feasibility study.
The center should have secondary entrance, is that what you're talking about?
No, first on I, that this entrance should be accessed by circular drive, have a covered canopy, and have larger than normal doors. And I personally picked up from the architects, weather lock vestibule and indoor waiting seating area for either the elevator or to be picked up by the car van. It's kind of standard.
Across
I
that
have no-
elevator?
Should we?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Since we don't, yeah.
because we're not advising.
Yeah, why are we
elevator.
putting an elevator?
Yeah, that was just in the original.
Seating area to,
So that, so waiting could either be in the vestibule or it could be inside the building proper. You know, we don't know how much space we have,
I
so
think the architects will come up.
Yeah.
they'll come up
figure
with that.
out.
So then, 2AII, Crystal, do you want to just talk about this notion of, first of all, accessing a senior center with a scan card, and secondly, having a secondary entrance so people can come and go from the fitness center? This is just something for you folks to consider.
So when I was in Northampton, that was one of the major kind of points of contention, was that our senior center, fitness center members wanted to be able to kind of access the fitness center without having to go through the main entrance, because the fitness center was on the other side of the building. So all of our offices and staff space was in the middle of the building, and then everything else was around like the outside of the staff offices. So by having like a scan card system like we have with my senior center, you can also purchase like a door lock that you scan and it unlocks a door. So that would be a way for us to track occupancy or track people going to the senior center, but also allowing them to get into that space to exercise. And we also thought maybe by this having a secondary entrance, that if there was somebody that wanted to maybe meet with the outreach worker but didn't want to have to go through reception because of confidentiality, maybe they're applying for fuel assistance or food stamps and they don't want to be seen coming in and checking in for an appointment with the outreach worker could meet them at this other entrance and let them in. Or if they have a scan card, they could scan in themselves to get in the other entrance. I just thought of it as an opportunity, but it's definitely not set in stone.
I don't have a problem with it. It may end up being a complication. The building committee will look at the cost of scan cards and all of that. But having a second entrance is a good idea. And having someone, you're not gonna let people in the building unless it's open, right? Scan card can't open the building if there's no staff in the building. Right? So
Right.
having a staff member go to the door would be fine. So I think a second entrance, I don't know about the scan card thing, but if you want to put it there, again, they'll think about it.
It's something that the whole group has not yet talked about, and so I'm starring the things that we haven't all talked about, and we don't have to decide right now. We just wanted to go through the whole thing and people can chew on it and think about it, and then obviously we're not voting on any part of the report today because it's not done, you know? So if you want to just think about it and we'll move on. I don't even know what the current senior center staff would think about that idea. You know, I can tell you some staff wouldn't want anybody to enter the building till we've laid eyes on them. But, you know, I can see why it was contentious. Crystal?
And you can control the scan, the hours that the scan.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you could do all
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But her point of, you know, putting eyes on the person, that's a good point. That's a security thing.
Okay, reception area, what I did, again, me, not the subcommittee, is I realized that we're not there yet where everything is on a video board. You know, you need literature to pick up, masks, sanitizer, whatever. You still need community bulletin boards to put flyers on. You still need a space when people come into reception that you can direct people right to a chair and they can fill out a membership form. And also a regret of some of these centers that built where the staff is all hidden and you just have the volunteer or paid greeter out front. Some regret around there's no room for staff and volunteers to do any work at those desks, which often happens. And then we might not be able to afford a cafe area. So I put in at least a beverage station. And lastly, something from all these things are from the architects. And then that there should be room to queue up at reception is also a regret of some places. So this is
All good
from,
points.
next, staff offices. So the only thing changed there is to be clearer that staff need space to meet. Now, you want to be able to have a staff meeting without taking away from program space. And then also you need to be able to have the outreach workers meet with people in like meetings or family meetings or that kind of thing. And there's not always room in an outreach worker's actual office. And then also that the other thing's you did list like, I think office supply storage and maybe even equipment, but it wasn't clear that they would actually be a copy mail supply workstation. There's also just a couple of things that affect space, like we need to be able to make conference calls, like to Social Security or something. And we had talked about that here a little bit, but that kind of changes what the space would be like and how it would be constructed. If you're going to have a licensed commercial kitchen, you're not allowed to have that be the staff break room. So you have to have some sort of staff mini kitchen / break room, even if it's tiny. That has to be somewhere, whether it's in the staff area or attached to the kitchen.
Well, I just want to say this is fine.
Mhm.
My thinking when I originally did this was to be brief.
Yep.
And you'll be involved with the building committee and all of this would have come out. However, putting it down here, no problem if you think it's necessary.
I mean, I don't know. I've never done an ad hoc building committee before, so I don't know.
Did we have one for the schools?
I don't think so.
I think it's important to lay everything out.
Yes, say what you want because
Say as
No,
much as you want.
right.
I don't think there's, yeah,
there's
you're not
nothing,
gonna overdo it.
This is
This
blue
makes-
skying it, you know?
this isn't about
Right,
money. How
right.
much is it gonna
Right,
cost?
right.
This is about, hey, what do you think of
Right.
it?
Right.
Let them chew on it.
Right, and then, this thing, even small individual staff spaces should include room for collaborative work and training. That means you're showing somebody how to do something, you physically have to be able to sit down next to them, look at their screen, and some of the offices we've seen, you could barely get 2 people in. Consider a staff-only restroom, that's really key, because, sometimes, you know, the public bathroom might need to be closed for cleaning because of an accident and staff literally have no place to go to the bathroom. So it's
That's
just
a great
important.
idea.
If we are gonna have kitchen staff, we didn't state that they're gonna need some kind of staff office space, and in some places you want that near the kitchen. Van drivers need some place to, like, here's the keys and the fobs and their paperwork and everything. You know, currently they have nothing. And then, so those were just enhancing what you had in there about the staff space, not radically changing anything, just more detail.
Yeah, more detail is fine.
Moving down. So when we talked about, you mentioned increased custodial just as part of staffing. So I put in more detail that our group had discussed. So Crystal and Kathy and Dawn and I discussed, if the building's larger and more people are using it and there's more activities, you might need more custodial than we currently have. And a lot of times these buildings end up getting carpeted apart. That's more work than cleaning a wood floor or a tile floor. And also, associated with this but not mentioned, a technologically more complex building will require professional oversight and operation of systems. If there's a laptop controlling your HVAC, that's not necessarily something the custodian is going to do, and it's not necessarily something the staff will do. It might be that there's some other building ops position or IT position that would do that. And there are towns where nobody could log into the laptop and deal with the heat and AC if one person was absent from City Hall. So we just thought, you know, it affects the budget. Then you mentioned extended hours of operation. So we said future budgets should include additional staffing or a paid building monitor or somebody to operate those extended hours so we don't short staff the morning or the
My
afternoon.
thinking on that is if some group wanted to use the space, they have this big multi-purpose room and they want to have a meeting.
Yep.
There's nothing to do with the senior center.
Yep.
Somebody has to monitor the senior center from the staff.
Exactly.
So either they're gonna pay overtime or they're gonna have to deal with that, or they can't have the place available for other groups, which would be sad.
It would be. It would be. So moving on, the bathrooms, I just grabbed from the architect's report on our building, that first of all, yes, we all agreed we want the airport style open entrance bathroom, but there is a function, if you can afford it, to having some private restrooms in case you have individuals that can't use because of their disability or whatever, a big public bathroom. I just stuck it in there for us to talk about. And then also, aging friendly, multi-fixture bathroom, you know, again, it's,
Like
if,
EDM would know all about
of
that.
course, they're gonna know all about it, but maybe we would pick an architect that
That's true.
that doesn't have that level of, universal accommodation around age friendly. I don't know, so maybe we
We
should
can
put
write
it
that
in.
RFP to make sure that the architect has some experience in building senior centers.
The
Never built one, but we're good at it.
The multi-purpose room, taking from the architect's report, you guys had a great list there, dinners, movies, exercise, etc. I just put down a few more things in there that require totally different furniture, possibly from if you were only ever eating, you know, and so I just stuck those in about assemblies, performances. There is a request out there that you will hear as soon as we get closer that somebody wants to have performances in the stage.
In the senior center?
Her initials start with, or MM. If you're listening, MM. Yeah, she wants us to have performance space.
What happened to city space?
Well, there you go. She's involved with that also. I just stuck licensed under kitchen because,
Mhm.
you know, we didn't. The group put in square instead of round tables as we discussed at our last meeting for the craft
You know
room.
better.
All right, moving on, Okay, when we talked about the 2 meeting spaces or classroom, you know, I think we added the number 2 there. And then keep in mind that we host the AARP tax program for like 10 weeks. They take up a full day and a half every week. And they have maybe half a dozen staff all needing their own table and so on. So we just thought if we're gonna build the program to house something like that, we might need more classrooms than we think. You know, so we just thought we should stick it in there. The veterans room, I know you said a meeting room and director, somebody said meeting room and veterans director's office. Right now, they don't have a meeting room. And I just questioned how big can the veterans section be? It's just a question, and what priority level is
We need to
it?
talk to we have a regional veterans agent,
Are
right?
they there
No,
every day?
one town. He is now he's full-time and he has an assistant.
Well, how often does he meet with a group of veterans?
It's outside groups that meet with okay, so the way it works is there's an outside person who has a veterans group. And we actually hosted it for a little while, but then we didn't have the capacity and now they're meeting somewhere else. So there's that group. And then there's the Veterans Council meetings.
So there's a
Those happen
reason for
here.
having a meeting.
There is, but they could also use our meeting rooms. It just depends on the timing. So
I
the
just
question
want
was,
to keep the veterans right there so that it helps us support the need for this building.
right,
Sorry, and I would ask,
Tom asked the question.
Yeah, I think Dan just hit the nail on the head. I think, get whatever you want for the veterans, because then basically it allows you to ask for whatever you need for that section of the building. So the sky's the limit on what the veterans need. If it ultimately requires the building to be bigger, good for us.
okay. All right, so moving on. Instead of calling it a nurse's office, which is really old school, and it might not even be an actual nurse in
Well, I
there.
am old.
So am I. I was calling it a nurse's office at first too. I just turned 58, everybody, on December 7th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Okay. So right from the architect's report, a suitably located and appointed flex use health office is sort of like, just in case it's not a nurse, with hand sink, because it could be the foot nurse, it could be the mobile dentist, with hand sink for various providers' use, just kind of covers it. And then when you said a bathroom, we would be willing to accept close proximity to a private restroom for client use. Like, if you can't have a bathroom right in the health office, you could have a private restroom kind of nearby. And Crystal, could you explain what we mean by a shower is not recommended?
So, in Northampton, we originally put in a separate bathroom with a shower next to the social day room because we were planning on doing a social day program. However, it never became a social day program, and they just ended up using the shower stall as storage until somebody on city staff found out that we had the shower. Then they wanted to ride their bike to work and go to the senior center first, take a shower after riding their bike to work, and then go to work. So it ended up kind of causing more problems than it did benefits. It was one bathroom with a shower stall that was primarily filled with storage. And when people did want to use it, it wasn't for the intended purpose. I know of 5 new senior centers that put in showers within the last 6 years, and none of them are using them. So I just thought it wasn't a useful thing to have a shower there.
Well, we shouldn't put it in, but the reason it's there is because we saw those other
we
showers.
did.
I know.
So, okay,
What do you all think?
I think just the upkeep of it would be an issue too with the,
well, it's
potential-
telling that it becomes storage.
Yeah.
I just saw it at a different
Yeah.
senior center.
Yeah.
But if Crystal's correct, then they're not using it. Let's not put it in.
No showers.
Yeah, and I
It's
think,
like no pool. We don't need it.
I think if that,
We need a pool.
Yeah,
No
same.
showers.
the same senior center, they also had a washer and dryer. Seems to me. I don't think I'm imagining that. And I think it's because people have different living situations is the only way I can put it. So it was to try to help people who are potentially homeless.
Yeah.
Well, and we have to take home all the laundry from the senior center and do it at home, all the tablecloths,
Oh,
all
that's
that
important.
stuff.
Is that in here or washer
That's,
dryer?
nope, I was gonna ask.
Put it in. Instead of a shower, wash or dryer.
Okay, that'll make my husband happy.
Yeah.
Especially when you say you have to take everything home.
That's,
That shouldn't be a staff
Yeah,
requirement.
right.
He takes everything home too. That's, from his job. Okay, outside. Love what you all said about the outdoor space. But I spoke with the drivers afterward back at the ranch, and they said our vans are under so much wear and tear from never being protected from the weather. They're all older people, and they have to clear off the tops of these extra tall vans. And there's no wash rack that can wash our extra tall vans anywhere in the 3-town area that we circulate in. And we can't use PVTAs. And it could provide an opportunity for some solar if we
love it.
had
I
an
love it.
overhang.
Because if you can point to the building committee, this is a maintenance issue. We can reduce maintenance by covering the vans.
Mhm,
It's a selling point, I think.
mhm, mhm. So we just wanted to recommend that. Now, as for like the co-op covering the participants' vehicles too, we could ask for the moon. I mean, and do a huge solar project, but,
Well, they could do a study is how much does the solar save in electricity? Does it pay for itself? And in a sense, and in a few years, the cost of all those roofs is paid for itself.
mhm. And then lastly, where you said pool table, we thought this little detail might have gotten lost, or maybe we never actually said it out loud. Even in our current center, we wish that we could convert the pool table to table tennis or other games once in a while, or even just use it for a meeting.
Why not?
And also someday billiards might not be so prominent and people would be like, why'd you spend all this money on one billiards room? So those were our suggestions and my suggestions to consider.
So you understand what we've all said. I'd like you to redo this.
Yep.
In a format as if it was a done
Yep.
deal.
Yep.
And if there's still things, I don't have a problem with any of this. I don't, except for the stuff where you said, yes, we need to move. et cetera. But, all I'm suggesting is this needs to be one of the appendixes that goes in the back of the full report. For the next meeting, since we're on to that agenda in a sense,
Mhm.
we should have it. And you know what you just did.
Yeah, I can do it in like
And
5
send it
minutes.
out as a draft. Try not to send it out the day before the meeting.
No, no.
So we can look at it, and if there's some edit in there with all our eyes, we can make a decision.
Okay.
So the next meeting is January 14th. I think it would be vital for us to have the UMass report
We
to
will.
look at ahead of time. Tom's report,
Mhm.
if there's a separate report from programming, or if this is a combination of the two, this one.
Mhm.
Any reports that are gonna become appendixes.
Yeah.
In other words, your report, what you're gonna hand us is final report from UMass, Appendix A, Appendix B, Appendix C.
Yep.
So I'd love to see that ahead of time, so we can all
You
study it.
So the program subcommittee of Crystal, Kathy, Dawn, and I is going to meet the minute that UMass report comes out, which is coming out, let's just say January 2nd. So as soon as we get that in our hands, we're gonna read it, we're gonna meet, we're gonna have the edited version of this also. And then we're gonna review it and annotate it. You all will get a chance to look at it and annotate it, so that when we come together on the 14th, the main purpose of the 14th is to go through it,
The programming,
to go through the UMass report together with everybody having read it and also having heard what the program subcommittee has to say about it. And then between the 14th and the 28th, that's when Leslie and I will sit down, write the executive summary, make sure everything is formatted neatly, put it all together so it's a report, and have it be ready. But that, wait a minute, so let me back up for a minute. So when do we want it at a point where you can vote on it? That would be the 14th. So what we're gonna have to do is between when UMass gives us that report, say January 2nd, and the 14th, when you're gonna vote on the final draft of the whole report, we're gonna have to get together and write the executive summary before the 14th.
Unless you want to have another meeting, and I don't recommend that.
Can we
No,
vote online? I mean, if we need more time to make some edits, and then we take a last minute look at it again, can we vote on that?
right, so if you see this is all optional. None of these votes have anything to do with anything. So if you see a final draft on the 14th and you vote that you like it, you can also vote that day, here's 10 edits we want to go back and have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make
yeah.
for the 28th. So then we could make them and send it
That
around.
sounds good.
That
That's
would be the
better.
way to go. Yeah.
I'd rather us vote in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like online voting because I think open meeting law says you can't do that unless you have an online meeting.
Oh, right. Right.
So it's a little bit of a tight timeline because of the holidays. I apologize for getting this out to you late, but we just met about it last week, right before our big holiday party. That was unusual. Anyway, do you want to move us along?
Yeah, let's
Dan?
go to the site selection option discussion.
So
Tom
then we
wants
need
us to go to
to,
executive session, Tom?
Yes, that would be good.
All right, so I'll call for a motion for executive session under MGL chapter 38, section 21 to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate. And the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Part of the motion is we will reconvene only to adjourn. Somebody make a motion. So
Second.
we have a motion to go to executive session. We have to do a roll call. Tom Brown,
Yes.
Crystal,
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, Tom, it's all yours.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.